Dia.
It's nice to see you. How is it going?
It's well, but I have to tell you something came up this weekend. I am in my later stages of my 40s, and my kids love to just sort of bump up whatever age I am. They just think this is quite humorous. And so now they're doing it in public at soccer games or saying
Okay.
things at the store, and it's like, okay, not that I'm an ageist or that I really care, but either
You
this
do, you come on.
or I need to pay attention to it more. So look, today I want to talk about wellness hack around longevity because I don't think it's something that we talk about, but I know I hear people talk. I was just at a family thing yesterday and someone brought up cold plunges, right? So it's like there are all these different things, but I don't even think we actually know what is actually powering us. And so I know you've talked about sort of that electricity behind everything, but I think that that's probably what I've been ignoring. And I would imagine some people listening or watching to this, but it's changed, right?
Definitely. And we don't just age because of years. We age because of our engines slow down and the ATP production crashes. You may have read about this if you talk about cold plunges and all these kind of things. Like ATP is a big discussion now. Oxidative stress builds up in age, and suddenly the body can't keep up with it anymore. And we personally think we're just getting older, but actually, funny enough, it's just a breakdown of the cellular energy, right? And that's why I would love to have a discussion about coenzyme Q10 with you today, because there is a big secret out there.
Well, I'm so glad you say that because that's something that I see, I see commercials about it. I hear about it. I mean, it's the one thing that, CoQ10, I almost feel like it's something I think I need to be taking that. I always thought that when we think about sort of energy and that electricity element, that there's this, it's just being busy. And that in essence, it's just kind of the world that we live in. It's like whenever I watch a movie that took place, it sort of takes place 50, 60, 70 years ago, it's a different way of life, not as many humans on the planet. but but it's not just that we're busy, right? I mean, there's more to it.
Yeah. You're not busy or you're not tired because you're old. You just your system is kind of underpowered, if that makes sense. And this is when Q10 kicks in, and maybe I'll give you a little bit of insight what the job of Q10 basically is, and then also the version of CoQ10 and where does it live. It's CoQ10 is found in every single cell. It powers our mitochondria. It's the part that makes the ATP. It's basically your energy currency. So if there is no ATP, there is no energy. And if ATP is your energy currency, then CoQ10 is the mint, if that makes sense, like the factory or the source.
And so where do you feel it, Dia? Like, is there it's something that I would feel or be able to sort of, I don't know, it's like taking a temperature to sort of
Yeah.
get that sense that I'm low or that I'm deficient.
Yeah, no, it's just, yeah, exactly. It's not you're low or you're not getting older. It's just when we feel low or as we get older, meaning our body, literally lose the ability to produce both ATP and CoQ10, especially when we are stressed or inflamed or sleeping enough, or we are also living, in a toxin heavy world, and toxins are everywhere. We have this environmental and industrial toxins. We have this food-related toxins. We have lifestyle-generated toxins like alcohol, as we said, stress, pharmaceuticals. Then we have radiation and electrosmog. We have personal care products with microplastic. We even have toxic relationships. It's not only, we're not only getting older, we're running low. There are so many factors. Let me give you a visual, because that makes it maybe easier to understand. It's like, if you want to have an image, it's like a city running low on electricity. And first then, the street lights would dim, the hospital slow, then everything goes dark. And that's what Q10 deficiency, or you would call it I feel low, kind of would look like. It would look like that inside your body. Now imagine, flipping the power back on steadily. That is what it feels like when your cells start producing that energy again. It's a quiet power, but it's clearer thinking, more stamina, better recovery, stronger glow. So it's not just this kind of hype, oh, take Q10 or CoQ10. It's really human biology. And it's what most people don't know. And that is very, very important. Not all coenzymes or CoQ10s are created equal. The common form in many supplements is ubiquinone, which your body still has to convert into its own active state, which is called, very important, ubiquinol. So you really want to make sure that you have the right product or you have the right supplement, because conversion also for our body gets harder as we age. So if you're taking the wrong product or the wrong form of CoQ10 or Q10, you may not be getting the full benefit. So that is with our product in NOOT, for example, we really use a highly bioavailable version, which gets into your cells and it does its job.
I'm so glad you mentioned recovery, because that's what, so one of the things I think about when it comes to aging is just the recovery element. If I'm doing
Yes.
something strenuous in the yard or lifting, I feel like it takes a little bit longer. So you're saying that from an sort of that electricity, that energy element, and converting that it does speed up, or I guess it impacts recovery.
It totally does. And we just mentioned a few symptoms, but there's other symptoms, fatigue, brain fog, recovery, not only general recovery of I had a hangover or a lot of flights and I'm suffering from, yeah, I can't sleep well. There's so many issues for us which impact us from outside, not only from inside. And then your skin loses the glow, your heart and your brain, and that's then very serious. They clearly show signals. So CoQ10, this line basically is the start of biological aging, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. You've mentioned, so I'll plead ignorance. You've mentioned ATP.
Mhm.
Can you explain what that is, and what role it plays? Because it's not something that I hear on a regular basis, but doesn't mean I'm looking for it either. And maybe now I should.
So, we talked about it in the beginning. It's one of those buzzwords at the moment. Oh, your ATP, your mitochondria. Nobody actually knows what it is, but it seems kind of important to look into it. So it's a great question. I'm happy to answer. ATP is the energy currency of your cells. Think of like a little electricity that powers energy into your house. No ATP, basically no light, no movement, no memory, no heartbeat. Okay, let me be very radical. If your cells stop making ATP, you die. It's that serious.
It's radical.
But it's the truth.
It's true. Okay, so that's ATP.
Yes.
Can we be? I want to be a little nerdy, I guess, or I think it is potentially. But just what is CoQ10 doing in the body when we're taking it? Like, what is sort of going on? Is it this amusement park of activity that is going on?
Let's discuss it the other way around.
Okay.
What is happening when Q10, when you flip it and you switch it back on? Because now I think we understand now what is happening when it slows down and, what symptoms we feel. But what is happening when you switch it back on? It's like the ignition key that helps your cells to produce, coming back to ATP, right? So we now know how important ATP is. No ATP,
Yeah.
ciao, that's it. So we need that ATP. And it doesn't hype you up. It powers you up from inside out. And it gives your body the energy it's supposed to have before stress, age, and pollution started to pull the plug. I hope that's not too radical again.
So one thing you said about hyping up. So when you said that, I think about a stimulant or something that just, maybe artificially gives me a jolt of energy. Is that what you're talking about? So there's a difference between sort of that hyping up and then powering up.
Yes, we have discussed that in great podcasts before. There's a big difference between enforcement and enhancement, right? The moment you enforce something, you later on you pay the price. Coke, caffeine, you enforce energy, and then it drops again. But if you enhance it, and that's what especially again, CoQ10, the coenzyme in Q10 and together combined does, it enhances. And that means you have a steady power and no enforcement, meaning there is no drop after, if that makes sense.
So, I mean, I don't want to be sort of the downer, but I'm almost so shocked that this is not essential information that we know about our common knowledge. Why is that? I mean, it feels like something that I should know this, or my kids should learn about it. Like it's that important to what we're doing. I mean, again, not to be radical, but if you don't have that energy, it just feels like how do you engage with life at all? And we haven't even talked about the impact on mood, on relationships. I mean, when you don't have energy, you don't feel like doing a whole lot of anything.
Correct. So that's actually also a great question, which I cannot answer in terms of why is it not more common. I can just have my assumption. It's CoQ10. It's not a sexy thing. It's more a scientific thing. It's not a pink drink or like a trendy serum. It's basically cellular science. So your son and my son and your daughter, our kids, they learn it in school. But the industry generally doesn't always reward depth. It rewards packaging. And it's not that easy to get it across. You see, we're talking now, I don't know, I don't have a watch. We're talking maybe 10 minutes about one thing. You don't have ATP. If you don't have ATP, you die. It's problematic, right? So it's maybe you need to look into it a little deeper to understand that product. And that's why it doesn't sound easy. And most probably, at least that's my assumption, and knowing it from NOOT, from my experience, it's not so easy to market such a product because it needs explanation and needs people with the willingness to look into it a little deep and with the consciousness that there must be something deeper than just the pill for or the collagen, coming back to our favorite topic. Everybody knows what this is doing. So I think this is the reason.
So I wonder then if that's why, because I know we had chatted last week and I was mentioning that we weren't recording or podcasting, but I had said when I think about CoQ10, I think about the commercials that I see that are generally targeted towards men and heart health. So I just assumed it was exclusively that. So, shame on me for just thinking that or buying that message. But there's one brand out there that's how it gets, talked about. And I've even had doctors who talk about it just in the vein of heart health. But I mean,
Yeah.
if anything you've shared today, it's a heck of a lot more than just heart health.
Yes, and Raj, doctors are also paid for time. They can't. I'm sorry. Sorry, my colleagues out there, but they can't sit down with you or with anybody else just to. Doesn't mean that it's good, but just to give you maybe an understanding and not to apologize for the industry or for the doctors out there. But it takes time to explain it. And your doctor is absolutely right, and the commercials are absolutely right. It's about heart health, of course. No ATP. Remember, we died. So if the source, if your heart hasn't is not empowered with this coenzyme and doesn't get the power from ATP, you have a big issue. So to break it down and to come back what I just said, it's easier to market it this way, but there is so much more you can do with it. And that doesn't only start when you have heart health problems. It really starts with any kind of biological aging, which we all know starts after 21, 23, right? So it's not only a product for heart health. But if you want to break it down and if you want to sell it easy, that's what you want to say.
And so that's why you've called it human fuel. I've heard that you mentioned.
Yeah. Yes, true. True.
See, that's the part that I think as a consumer that is very frustrating because yes, it obviously is there for heart health, but it's for so much more. It's almost as if it feels like the industry is worried that we as consumers in one sort of big batch can't take the information. But you haven't said anything that is, my brain is not exploding, right? I mean, it makes sense the way you're laying it out.
It's
But
good.
it's a disservice that people don't know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and it's really important to mention here that it's all not only about just the energy we have, it's really about protection. And protection is prevention. And without CoQ10, your cells are basically more vulnerable to mutation, to inflammation, to hormone disruption. That, of course, also raises the risk of cardiovascular design or even infertility. And I have to say it, even cancer, right? It's very important to look into it. And that's why it's such a great product. And you should really, everybody listening to it, take it into consideration if it would make sense for you to supplement that one. And so it's basically not just about aging. It's really, CoQ10 is about cellular defense.
Yeah, and it's not about just living longer, right? I think sometimes you get that. I mean, I do think people just think, oh, longevity. Like there's a time we're trying to expand or slow down time. It's actually the quality is what you're talking about.
Yes. So longevity isn't about dragging yourself through more years. It's about staying strong, sharp, vital, until the very end. And if I look at my grandma, and if I look at other elderly people, it's, some of them are really suffering. It's not nice. You need to be brave to really, become old. It's not easy to be old because your mind might be sharp, but your body is dealing with a lot of issues. So CoQ10 and the whole conversation is by far more than just longevity, because if we age, of course, we want to age gracefully or we want to be beautiful, but we also want to be vital and healthy. Any kind of beauty doesn't help you anything if you can't move, right?
And that's what I would be curious. I mean, look, one of the things I'd like to think that we're doing in these conversations that we're having is helping to broach topics that a lot of people they may know from a cursory perspective or they've heard something, but they haven't really either had the time to dive into it or to learn a little bit more. Because this is not about, to me, and this is me speaking, it's about sort of this lifestyle and not being, I guess, afraid
Yeah.
of changes our bodies are going through as we age. I mean, I hear from you, it's sort of embracing it and understanding that when we're sort of running on all cylinders, how we can experience life. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yes, that's definitely a fair way to put it. And, you know, let's just break it down maybe. Why Q10? And why now?
Mm.
It's we are being drained faster than ever because of all the things we've just discussed, stress, toxins, screens, processed food. So many issues and so many reasons. And we are burning through reserves we never replenish. So CoQ10 is a very clean way to recharge and to protect what matters the most. If you age, you want to age wide and you want to age with grace and you want to age without concerns that you just don't only run out of energy, you maybe have chronic inflammation or other issues. And to be very clear in this podcast, I'm not talking about 50, 60, 70 plus. I know a lot of persons who have chronic inflammation, fatigue, brain fog, other issues with 25 plus. So it's not, again, a conversation for elderly people. It's for everyone listening to that, sometimes even for teenagers. It's not only for elderly people.
And that's why over time, tell me if you have this experience. I'll look at people in, let's say, TV or movies or even in like magazines from years ago who are either my age or even younger than I am. And I think that they look older. So I'd like to think that we have learned over time some best practices, right? We've applied some of those things, some elements of our food or our living, our healthcare have gotten, gradually better and more refined. And so we have an opportunity, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that if we sort of add to our knowledge base, we have an opportunity to experience even more vitality. This is not about, to your point, that's a great point, that it's not just about sort of an elderly population where a lot of the fear is becoming a burden on family and friends when we can't operate in the way that we want to. But it's that if we can add this knowledge to what we're doing and the way in which we practice our health, I don't know, we're just much more functional. We can, like to think, enjoy life a little bit more.
Exactly. And that is what supplements should, do for you. That is what they should do for you. Important, eat healthy, drink healthy, and look after your overall toxin consumption. That is important because every single supplement doesn't make any sense if you don't think about your general lifestyle. But CoQ10 is one of those cool products. People who are looking into that, they are already conscious. They want to know, what is this about? And yes, they want to age gracefully, or they want to just literally be more vital, or they're suffering from certain symptoms and want to understand what kind of supplement would help them. And CoQ10 generally is a product which you can combine great with other supplements. And it really helps. And you don't have to take it, because this question I get so often. You don't have to take the supplements forever, right? You can just have it for 8 or 12 weeks and see how it feels. And then you stop it for a while. If you were 65, 70 plus, my father, for example, I want him to take it every day, especially because he had some cardiovascular issues. So I want him to take it every day because it will not harm him. It will help him. So it's the combination of everything you will need to look into. But then generally speaking, definitely CoQ10 is an amazing product to supplement and to help you to feel more energized and, in one sentence, to age slower.
What's the one takeaway you think from today and what we're discussing? As I now, I feel that much more informed, but I'm just curious for the listener or the audience, what's the one takeaway that you would apply to this conversation?
The takeaway for me, or the takeaway for everyone, let's be a little more philosophical, because yes, we talk about CoQ10, but the whole conversation again was about, holistic mindset. And if we talk about that, and we keep in mind that CoQ10 is great for everything we have discussed, generally, energy isn't a luxury thing. Energy is your birthright. And CoQ10, that's your way back into your own power. So if you want to have it in one sentence, CoQ10 is the supplement which really helps you to feel yourself better and more energized. And you have a very, very strong partner by your side to support your cellular energy. And that's why I personally love it. And I can really recommend it as a supplement from time to time.
Yeah, I love it. It makes me think about how if I'm not being mindful in the way you're discussing, Dia, then I'm thinking about sort of loosely talking about like microdosing, like caffeine and these other things. So it's just a nice reminder that we can get ahead of these things, and that can help to alleviate all the stress and anxiety and just the sort of the chaos of the world that is moving at breakneck speed, which we understand. But again, thank you I know, for educating me. I feel like I'm your student now, but thank you again, Dia.
No, it's so much fun. Thank you too, Rod.